Garry Kasparov, thank you very much for coming in.
Inviting me.
You actually said, and I mentioned it there, that you regard Putin as more dangerous than Islamic State.
By far. So it's
as big a threat to us?
Of course. Islamic State is a threat, but I mean, you can mobilize resources, you can send troops, you can just build a coalition. It's a solvable problem, big problem, but solvable. Putin has a nuclear weapon, and his aggressive policy, does not have a simple solution. So it's a combination of factors, but no one knows how to solve the problem. And let's not forget, the man will do everything to stay in power.
Did you see Ukraine coming?
Read my tweets. Yeah, I just, on February 20th, I predicted the Anschluss of Crimea because I was simply following Putin's words. It's amazing that he said almost everything that he would do, and nobody wanted to believe him.
But I mean, if I'd asked you 5 years ago, would you have said?
Oh, look, 5 years. You had the footage 7 years ago, and I said it was a police state. I've been saying for a long time that Putin was our problem, but at one point it would become everybody's problem because every dictator, at the end of the day, needs new mythology, and aggressive foreign policy remain the only weapon for Putin to boost his popularity.
But the problem is, of course, that the mythology is working. I mean, let's look at the crises that besiege him. The oil price has collapsed. He's under very severe sanctions. And yet he is absolutely untouched. His popularity
He's not under severe sanctions. Sanctions, yes, and sanctions are already biting. But how can you measure his popularity? By calling people, asking about Putin? Yeah, I'm not surprised that 80% might say yes. What about the 20% saying no because...
Well, they do polling, don't they?
Polling means somebody calls you, and it's anonymous call. So for people who are born and raised in the Soviet Union, so who know what is KGB, so to be frank about Putin, you ask them too much. But at the end of the day, again, it's just Hitler was also very popular. So what? So it takes time for people to understand the connection between the annexation of Crimea and higher prices in the stores and the lower rate of the ruble and the general deterioration of the living standards.
Well, now, in this studio in the last month, we've had you and we've had the Pussy Rioters. And both have made a lot of noise and attracted a lot of attention in the West. But in Russia?
Look, I can go back to Russia, but it will be one-way ticket. So it's I mean, you ask too much from individuals while dealing with a dictator. Again, Putin is staying there for life. But again, the bad news, we don't know when it happens. The good news, he also doesn't know when and how he dies, because dictators, what we know from history, I mean, could end the rule abruptly.
So what should the West's reaction to him be? I mean, you saw the way he was treated in Australia for the G20.
That was good.
Yeah.
But I mean, unfortunately, that was a very rare moment of showing strength. What you cannot afford while dealing with dictators is to show weakness, because they're striving with weakness and indecisiveness. That's that we learned in the 30s. And this country knows the results of the policy of appeasement.
But we're not dealing with Stalin. I mean, this guy was elected.
Hitler was also elected. I don't want to start arguing about elections.
Yeah.
In Russia, elections have been playing, the role of the window. Of course, it's all, a fake. The man is there for 15 years, and he will stay there for as long as he's allowed to stay. And
well, that's an interesting phrase, as long as he's allowed to stay. I mean, of course, some of the people that keep him in power are the oligarchs. Now, we are very indulgent to the oligarchs here in London. We've got a lot of them. They don't pay any taxes. They live in a lot of houses they leave empty.
It's music for my ear, but, I don't think any government here can afford to go after them, because the moment the government in this country or in Europe as a whole or in the United States will go after the assets of these people.
But in a way, you're telling me nothing can be done then. either by Russians or by us.
No, but look, again, it's something will happen eventually, because the Russian middle class will not tolerate for a long time the decline in the living standards. And providing sanctions stay, and that's very important. Sanctions must stay, because Putin believes sanctions will be temporary. Next year they will be lifted. The Russian ruling elite believes that's also, you know, just a problem, but only for a while. And Russian middle class must recognize that if Putin stays there, everybody will pay the price.
Do you sleep easy at night?
I have to sleep, just to have energy to campaign.